I'm here in Center Valley, Upper Saucon Township, and I want to discuss a topic that I get asked about all the time by homeowners. And the question that I get asked is, why do some homes in Center Valley sit on the market for a long time and other ones sell right away? So, if you are a homeowner, you're probably wondering this yourself. So, instead of sitting here and talking to you about it, I actually want to show you some examples and walk you through it to help you understand better because it is something we see in the market a lot, and recently we've been seeing it all throughout Center Valley. You can see that there are some listings that will sell within like the first week or maybe 2 weeks of being on the market. Oftentimes, those properties end up getting multiple offers and they go over asking and they have really good terms for the seller. And then there will be other houses that I'm sure you've probably seen sitting that will sit for maybe 60 days, 90 days, even more than that sometimes. And being that they're in Upper Saucon Township, the question is, well, why are those homes sitting? So I'm going to share my screen with you and I'm going to walk you through a few listings and we will answer that question. Why do some homes sit and why do others sell right away? Okay, so I have my screen up here and I'm going to walk you through a few listings. So I pulled listings from Valley Green and Sunrise Valley for this specific example, just because these are all recent listings and it really will help understand this whole concept of houses sitting and other ones not sitting. So if you watched my market updates for June, I actually touched on these also, but I want to walk you through them in a little more detail and show you what's going on. So this listing here on Muirfield Road is in Valley Green, okay? And I just want to point out that Valley Green and Sunrise Valley are very similar in a lot of ways. They are different as well, but they're very comparable neighborhoods. So that's why I'm pulling listings from across those two neighborhoods because they are very similar. And they're both highly desirable subdivisions within Center Valley. So this listing here was listed on, it was, let's see here, we'll pull up the history. I'll walk you through the history first, and then we'll look at the listing itself. So it was listed on April 21st. So they had an active no showing status, which is sort of like a pre launch phase. So the listing's active, you could see it, but you can't actually tour the property. That's very smart. I recommend doing that if you're going to sell your house. I do that, and it helps build a little bit of anticipation, a little bit of hype. It's sort of like a coming soon. It lets people know it's coming, but they can't actually tour the property yet. And typically, you'll leave that status for a few days or so, like they did here. It was for 3 days. Then, starting on April 24th, the listing went active, so then you can look at it. By April 30th, it was under contract. By May 29th, it was sold. They got multiple offers on this property and it did sell for over asking. So now let's look at, well, why do we think this house went for over asking? So when you look at the listing, the first thing that's going to jump out at you is the price. So keep in mind you're in Valley Green and this was listed at $680,000. Now, although that's a lot of money, it's not for Valley Green. It's definitely on the lower end. If you've been tracking Valley Green recently, you've seen houses go for a lot more than that. Some have even gone for over 1 million. It depends on the house because every house is different. Some are larger, some are smaller. But the first thing that's going to jump out at a buyer that's been looking in the market is, wow, I can move into Valley Green for $680,000. That's the first thing that they're going to think. So now let's look at the house itself. So you have 2,900 square feet above ground. Then you have a finished basement, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, a nice size lot. So we'll just flip through some of the pictures quickly. So you're going to see the outside appears to be in good condition. It has decent curb appeal, no red flags. Then you're going to get to the inside and you're going to see that it's dated and it needs work. And buyers are going to notice that. They're going to see that there's hardwood floors, which is nice. Those can always be refinished. So that's definitely a positive. The rooms appear to be nice size. So this is sort of like how a buyer's going to be thinking while they're flipping through the pictures. The kitchen, the buyer, buyers are probably not going to like. They're going to want to redo it, but that's okay because keep in mind you're at $680,000. So there's plenty of room to remodel and still build equity in the house. So you could see though that the bones are good. It has nice room sizes, nice ceilings, nice features. So this is what a buyer's going to be looking at. And then I want to get to the backyard because you're going to see here that there's a built-in pool, which is a huge positive. Obviously, a built-in pool can easily cost $100,000 plus to install. So the fact that that this house has a pool already is a really big plus for buyers if they're a buyer that wants a pool. There are some buyers that really want a pool and they will pay extra to have one. There's other buyers that view it as a liability. They don't want the maintenance and they just won't even consider a pool. But if you're a buyer looking for a pool, the fact that this house is $680,000, it's in Valley Green, and it has a built-in pool are all really big positives. Most buyers will overlook the work that needs to be done on the inside because they can build equity. They can fix it up, they could build equity, and they're getting into the Valley Green neighborhood at a really low price point. So when I talk about positioning, this is what I'm referring to. It's a buyer taking this property and putting it in their head compared to all the other properties they've looked at. And they're going to say, yeah, this house needs work. But in this case, it doesn't make the house not sellable. It's okay that it needs work. You can sell a house that needs work because it's positioned correctly. It's in Valley Green. It's a low price for the neighborhood. It has a built-in pool. It has the square footage, the layout. It has a lot going for it. So because they positioned correctly as far as pricing and presentation goes, the condition of the house did not deter buyers. They got multiple offers. It ultimately ended up selling for over asking, and they got 685. So this is an example of a property that's positioned well. So now we're going to move on to our first Sunrise Valley example. And this one is interesting because it's going to be sort of in between the two extremes. So I pulled three examples for you. One is going to be the one I just showed you, sold right away, over asking. The next one I'm going to show you after this one is a house that's been sitting and sitting and sitting and still has not sold. This one is sort of an in-between example. And I think this is a really important example to have because it demonstrates what happens when you are priced just a little bit too high. So this house was listed, it was previously listed in the fall, but we're going to not even look at that listing. We're just going to look at the current listing. They listed on April 10th for $950. On May 1st, they did a price reduction to $899. And then on May 21st, they went under contract. Now, what does this house have going for it? If you look at it, it's the square footage is pretty large. It's 3,600 square feet. If you include the basement, it's 5,200 square feet of living space. So it's a big house. It has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. Excellent location. You're in Sunrise Valley. So let's just look through some of the pictures quickly here. And you're going to see that this is in good shape. Everything is very nice. It's in good shape. It's not completely remodeled or modernized, but everything's in really good condition. It's very clean, very well taken care of. You can clearly see that it really doesn't need any work done to it. Someone might want to do work to it, but it doesn't need it. It doesn't require it. And the other interesting thing about this house is that they had a pre-listing inspection, which is really important. If you're going to list your house, talk to your agent about doing a pre-listing inspection and if it's right for your specific circumstances. So this house had it. They had a new roof in 2020. They renovated the basement in 2024. They had a stucco inspection. They have a new hot water tank, a new HVAC system. So this house has a lot going for it. And quite honestly, there are really no negatives. This house has, there's nothing wrong with this house. There's no reason why a buyer would not want this house. So the question is, well, why did they sit for 41 days? And the answer is that their positioning was just a little bit off. They priced out too high to begin with. Even though this is a really nice house, it's a large house, it's not worth $950. So buyers reacted to that. So this house didn't have the issue of someone looking at it and saying, "Oh, it needs too much work," or "Oh, the condition," because this house had a lot going for it. The problem was that they just listed it a little too high. And then you could see when they dropped the price to $899, they did end up selling it, but it still took another 20 days after lowering the price to get a contract. So we'll see where this ends up settling at. So we know like how much it actually went for. But this house, if they priced and positioned and marketed really strongly from day one would have sold immediately because it really has nothing working against it. So this is a good example of how pricing a little bit too high can really slow you down. And you do oftentimes end up leaving money on the table when that happens, or the terms you get might not be as good as if you priced it correctly to begin with and drew a lot of interest in. So I hope that makes sense because that's the point that I'm trying to make. So now we're going to go on to the next listing. This is 3411 Stonegate Drive. And this one is really interesting because it was on the market for 168 days and it still has not sold. That is extremely rare for anywhere in Upper Saucon Township. And the truth is, this house is not unsellable. It just goes back to positioning. It was not positioned well. Um, or in a way where buyers were going to react to it and in a positive way and draw competition in. So you could see that it was listed on October 10th for 990. They lowered the price on October 30th to 945. They took it off the market in January. They relisted it in March and lowered the price to 899. Then April 20th, they lowered to 799. Then on May 13th, they did get a contract, but it quickly fell out of contract on May 19th. A lot of people wonder, well, why do houses fall out of contract? There's a lot of different reasons it can be. Typically, if it's within the first 2 weeks, like this happened pretty quickly, it's usually either inspection related, appraisal related. It can be buyer related. Sometimes the buyer changes their mind or their situation changes if they lose their job or something like that. But typically when it happens this quickly, it's usually either inspection related or appraisal related most of the time. I don't know what the reason is in this particular case. So let's just take a quick look at the house. So this house is very large. It's 3,700 above ground square footage, 4,600 in total if you include the basement. So it has a lot of square footage. And the other thing that sticks out right away that buyers are going to notice is the lot size. It's 1.38 acres. Most of the lots in Sunrise Valley are around a half an acre. So this is more than double the average lot size in Sunrise Valley. That definitely has value, especially because it backs up to a wooded area. So you're going to see there's no houses directly behind you. It's a nice big private lot. So between the square footage, the location, and the lot size, this house does have a lot going for it. It also has a new HVAC system. But we're going to look at the pictures quickly, and you're going to see that you're going to notice right away that it needs some work. So, the curb appeal isn't the greatest. It is probably going to need a roof at some point in the near future. You could tell just by looking at it. The landscaping is not extremely attractive, but when you walk in, you're going to see the hardwood floors and everything. It's sort of like a blank slate. So a buyer's going to look at this and they're going to think that they're going to realize that it needs work. But it is sort of like a blank slate. And if a buyer could be willing to do the work to this house, it's going to need an updated kitchen and everything. But it has a lot going for it. So this house is not unsellable at all. So the question is, why did buyers not react positively to it? Why has it sat for 168 days and not sold? And the reason is, once again, we're going to tie this back to positioning just to draw the comparison. They were positioned by pricing at 990 from day one. And when you're in that price bracket, you're going to start competing with new construction and other houses that were remodeled or that have a lot more features. So a buyer in the 990 price point is going to look at this and they're going to say, well, I can actually, within the same township, I can get more for my money. I can get a remodeled house. I can get a house that's maybe only 2 or 3 years old. So that's why this house is going to get pushed to the back burner, because the comparison that buyers are drawing, they're not going to feel like the value is there at 990. And because they launched at that price to begin with, over time they lost momentum. After the first 30 days, you really start to lose momentum and the house starts to become stale. The first 7 days are the most important, but the first 30 days are very important in general. And it just sort of went to the back burner. You could see the other house in Sunrise Valley was down to 899 and it really didn't need any work. So starting at 990, you are going to be competing with that new construction and with the updated renovated houses. And that's why the positioning is very, very important. So if you ever have questions about positioning, feel free to reach out to me anytime. But the point that I keep trying to make is that you want to look at the overall, because the house needing work does not make it unsellable. And you could see that in this Valley Green example. It doesn't matter if the house needs work. These are desirable locations. These Any of these houses are sellable. It's just a matter of how are we going to price it correctly? How are we going to make the listing attractive? And more importantly, how are we going to get it in front of the right buyers? So you need to identify who is the buyer for this house, and then how do we target those buyers? So if you ever want to know um, any questions about positioning or how this is playing out in the market, feel free to give me a call at any time. I'd be happy to discuss it with you. But I wanted to draw these three different examples because they all have a different trajectory. Each of these houses was positioned differently and got different results based on how they were positioned. So I hope that you find these examples helpful, and I will see you back here next week for my next video.